Now to our top story. Russia's attacks are moving deeper into Ukraine. Moscow has bombed the military aircraft repair facility in the western city of Lviv. Meanwhile, Kyiv has seen another round of missile strikes and shelling. Charlie D'Agata is following this for us from Ukraine's capital.
The indiscriminate shelling on the outskirts of the city is now spreading terror in the capital, too. Missiles and artillery are landing here on a daily basis, sometimes several times a day, as Russian forces intensify attacks here and across the country. Aftermath of the latest missile to slam into a residential neighborhood here this morning. There's no telling when or where the next rocket or rockets will strike. Kyiv, the second largest city, engulfed in flames and under constant bombardment. And in the besieged city of Chernihiv, an American teacher among dozens of Ukrainian civilians killed. 68-year-old Jimmy Hill, who had stayed in Ukraine to look after his partner Irina, suffering from MS. From Pittsburgh, Katya Hill recalled the last time she spoke with her brother.
I could hear bombs in the background. He was going out on a daily basis searching for food. The hospital lost electricity. The hospital lost gas. There was no heat. My brother was a peacemaker, and he was a giver, and he just felt everybody in the world should love each other.
A man weeps over the body of his dead mother in the capital, killed after fragments of a downed missile rained down on this neighborhood. This is what it looks like when a missile misses. People pick up the pieces, patiently lining up for plastic sheeting, protection against the cold, if not searing shrapnel. These are some of the fragments of the missile that the Ukrainian military said it intercepted as it flew overhead. And it caused incredible destruction at this building and surrounding buildings. You can see why people are so worried about what may come. Even though this neighborhood is in the firing line, even as Gayla Vereshchak plucks jagged shards of glass from her window, she tells us she's not going anywhere. It's very cold. It's okay, we won't freeze, she says. Love warms us up. Do you have a message for America? Peace in Ukraine, no more war, and that Putin comes to his senses and gets a brain. And we have an update on that bombed-out theater in Mariupol, where there are fears of 1,000 people taking shelter. This morning, Ukrainian officials say around 130 people have been rescued so far. Anne-Marie and Vlad?
All right, Charlie, thank you. So we want to take you from Kyiv now to Lviv. Imtiaz Tyab is there on the ground. Imtiaz, so, you know, the news today is that there was a missile strike just outside of Lviv, an airport there. But I look behind you and, you know, Lviv looks to be bustling. It does not look like a city that is at the center of Russian aggression, at least not right now.
Anne-Marie, Vlad, good to talk to you. That really is one of the paradoxes of Lviv, right? All those horrors that we're seeing elsewhere, and then you come here and it's this beautiful city, glorious sunshine, people walking around, but there's nothing normal about what's happening here in Lviv, particularly not in the last few hours. In fact, as we've been saying in the early hours of this morning at around 6 a.m., what we've been told is that cruise missiles fired from the Black Sea targeted what's been described as an aircraft repair center close to Lviv airport. We rushed to the scene shortly afterwards, tried to get as close as we can. Here's what we saw.
What you can see there in the distance is this roiling cloud of black smoke. We understand that at least 3 explosions went off at Lviv's airport. And really what this has done is really just sent a chill down the spines of so many people living in this city who, since the start of this invasion, have not seen anything like this come so close to their homes. And yet here we are, Russia's war on Ukraine, right on the doorsteps of Lviv.
Now, earlier we had a chance to speak with the mayor of Lviv, and I asked him, can you give any guarantees to the people, not only of Lviv, but of the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands who have fled here from the violence and elsewhere in the country? And he said to me, only God can give guarantees. Anne-Marie, Vlad.
So, Imtiaz, I mean, to Anne-Marie's point, to the one you just made about the Ukrainians fleeing to Lviv from other parts of the country, what are they telling you? I mean, I'm looking behind you and I see those strollers, dozens and dozens of strollers. I'm guessing it's, you're near a cafe and people are, enjoying and living their lives. What are they saying to you?
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing here is a pretty heartbreaking tribute. I'm just going to step out of the way so you can really see the scale of this. This is 109 strollers and baby seats. And what this represents is the 109 children who have lost their lives since Russia's invasion began. 109 children. And, it's pretty startling to just see this in front of you when you think of all the children, all the babies whose parents no doubt had hopes, dreams, futures for them in mind, and just snuffed out. And this tribute is a reminder of the real cost of war, how ugly and horrific war is, and how all too often it is the most vulnerable and the most innocent who are caught up in all this horror. Anne-Marie.
Vlad, Imtiaz and I were talking earlier, and Lviv is sort of the birthplace of the Ukrainian resistance to the Soviet Union. It has been spared, I think, partially because of its location so close to Poland, but there's kind of a spiritual resistance in the fabric of that city that I'm sure Vladimir Putin is well aware of. That being said, so the idea that it would be spared permanently, I just don't know. That being said, they were prepared. They actually managed to shoot down at least some of the missiles. Not all of them did not land on the intended target.
You're absolutely right. I mean, what we understand is that 6 Russian cruise missiles targeted that site, and most of them were shot down. Of course, some of them making contact. And really, it just goes to show what we've been seeing, especially in recent days, which, at least from a ground invasion point of view, Russia has really stalled in extraordinary ways. I mean, what we're hearing is that Russian ground forces have been running out of fuel, have been running out of food. But most crucially, what we're hearing is they're running out of morale, that these young men who have come here to Ukraine to be part of this invasion are asking themselves why they're doing this. And I think there's a constellation of reasons why Russia's ground invasion hasn't really kind of progressed any faster or harder than I think Vladimir Putin had hoped for and anticipated. But to answer your question, Anne-Marie, what we've really seen here is a Ukrainian resistance that has just sort of exceeded any expectation of anyone. And we've seen this now over the 23 days or so of fighting. Most of the people on the ground who are fighting, a lot of them are just regular folks who said, you know what, we're going to stand up to this aggression. We're going to stand up to Russia. We're going to put on uniforms. We're going to start using weapons that we don't have a lot of experience with, and we're going to fight back. In saying that, Ukraine has received a lot of support from a lot of countries, including the U.S., including missiles that are essentially capable of shooting those cruise missiles out of the air. And that international support is also perhaps why we're seeing Ukraine being able to repel the kind of assault that Russia wants to make here in Lviv and indeed across the country, as we've been seeing with horrific effect. Anne-Marie.
Yeah, I encourage people to look up the English translation of the Ukrainian national anthem, right? And you will see in those words that sort of the spirit of the fight is part of the cultural fabric of this country. And once you read that, you probably won't be surprised by the resistance that we're seeing on the ground there. But as you point out, Imtiaz, you need help. It's not just all about, having the heart to win the fight. You need support as well. Imtiaz, thank you very much.